Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Larry Webster. I'll be your facilitator this evening for the project meeting for Lake Meade and Lake June. These are drainage improvement projects constructed as part of the county's CIP projects. There are several documents. Hopefully everyone is signed in over here to the right, or my right, your left. There are several documents that you'll need to go through, to follow as we go through this project in this meeting. As you can see, we have some displays up here, and unless you have bionic vision, you will not be able to see precisely what we're talking about. But if you have the documents over here, a copy of them, you'll be able to follow along. We'll tell you what page number and approximately where we're at on the map. The first document that you'll need, sorry for the glasses, like old age is really catching up with me. One of the most important documents you'll get here tonight is a comment sheet. This comment sheet is important because a couple things. As we go through the meeting, what we would like is for everyone to take notes as to if you have a question or a concern about something we present. Because basically the way we're going to run this meeting is that we are going to present the project in its entirety, and then after we've presented all the information for clarity, that way everything's done at one time and we don't miss anything, then we will take and answer any and all questions. So if you just hold all your questions till the end, everyone's questions will be answered. If we're unable to answer your question because we don't know everything, some of us think we do, but we don't. So we will get the answer to you in whatever format you wish. And on this comment sheet, if you want an email, you want a phone call, you want email and phone call, text message, Facebook, whatever you want, you put it on here. We'll get you the answer in that medium as best we can. And make sure that you clarify which project your question concerns. Because obviously there is Lake Meade and then the Lake June. The other document is basically a project, this is a summary of the meeting. Everything we're going to go over basically is in this meeting summary sheet. So if you read through that, a lot of the information is there. On the back part of that meeting summary sheet is a list of abbreviations and terms and other things that are pertinent to, say, the engineering, which is what this is related to. It'll tell you exactly what we're talking about, but if you need us to clarify something, please feel free to ask us. We also have a map, which is exactly copies of this one in 11 by 17 to help you follow along as to exactly where we're talking about and what we're talking about. The last two things. These are the plans. These are a copy of the plans as they are currently. One is for Lake Meade, one is for Lake June. And as we go through the project description, what we will do is we will refer to the plans up here. We'll have both plans up here presented, and we will refer to the page within the plans, and you can flip to the page on the plans that you have in your possession. And that way it should enable you to follow along pretty well as to what exactly we're doing and what we're talking about. And hopefully by the end of this meeting, all of you will have a very clear understanding of what our intentions are and what our goals for these projects are. At this meeting tonight, we'll have several county staff represented here. Ron Stylen is the engineer of record and designer for the projects for Lake Meade. Jerry Shue is the engineer of record for Lake June. Tiffany Gint is the Grant? whatever. I said, and I did clarify earlier that we don't know everything. That's one of those. She is the meeting secretary. My name's Larry Webster. I'm the facilitator. We have our cameraman over here, Miata something. Yes. Anyway, well, we're very happy that you all came here tonight because these public meetings are very helpful to us because without them, we really don't know what a lot of your comments would be, and it helps us to give a better product to you because you guys living in the neighborhood of the project, you guys are the ones that have to actually live with what is done out there and the way things are. And we're hoping to improve conditions in the area, whether it be flooding or water quality. This time I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the engineer record for Lake Meade, and he'll describe his portion of the project.
Good evening. My name is Ron Stile, and as Larry already said, basically what we're looking at is a area which is about 1 square mile that is all going downhill. Now there are all kinds of ponds in this area, but everything finally winds down to this Larson Pond. What our intention is here now is to first do something about size of the pond. Needless to say, 1 square mile is a lot of volume, so we can't do too much with it because a lot of it is already wetlands. So what we're doing is we're increasing that first of all. Then we are going to take the stormwater that is coming into it and we're going to be treating it a little bit. We're going to make it go through what we call a vortechnic unit. It basically takes the water in and it swirls it around. And basically, it keeps all the solids and all the debris from going into the Larson Pond. Then there is a system already in place along the north side of Larson. And what we're doing with it is that we're going to use it to have the water come out from the east side of this pond. We have two systems coming in. We have one coming in from Parsons, and one coming in from what we call Brenda Drive, over by the high school, or the middle school, Horace Mann. Sorry. So, but these systems are not connected. Right now we're going to make a connection, and when we make the connection, it's going to allow the water to go back up the pipe that is currently in place, and we're going to have it go a little bit north, and then we're going to take another pipe and bring it underneath Parsons. This is going to be done by a jack and bore. And then we're going to guide it to a new pond that we're going to be creating. That pond is going to take a lot of the flow that is going to come from the Larson Pond in the worst case scenarios with a lot of flows. That's when it's going to be coming over there. It's going to fill up the pond and release it at a more gradual rate. Then it's going to go into Lake Meade after receiving some more treatment over here. And then it's going to be picked up at Jersey and Lobelia. Well, I guess I can show it here too. So right now what we have here is the Larson Pond. Here's a connection we're going to be making. Then we're going to take it from here when it stages up. We take it over here to this new pond. There is already an outfall for it, and it goes into Lake Meade at this location. This is going to store some more water, treat it a little bit more, then it's going to flow over here. Now there was originally, many years ago, there was a connection. When Jersey was completed, whoever it was who created the road, severed the connection. Now, in a few years ago, we wound up putting a dry line there, basically a place where we could pump our water into. That is never good. That means we have to have a mechanical system on hand at the whole time. We are now replacing that since we have now funds, we have time to do it. In the olden days, we just didn't have that luxury. So now we're going to have this flow naturally again back to Wee Lake. In Wee Lake, we were planning a project here. It was basically to enhance it a little bit. We were going to take the ditch, which is currently here. We're going to realign it, and we're going to move it over the proper line just so we could get an easement to get it all the way across and over Rogier Road into Lake June. Unfortunately, we were unable to do such, so we had to cancel that part of the project. But that doesn't, in this case, it does not matter. Between this, it will take care of our problem at Larson and Lake Meade itself. Wee Lake will not experience any problems from it, according to the model that we have now. And additionally, we are now going to be putting another outfall here, another way out from this pond. Right now, it's an 18-inch pipe that was going through here. It is not big enough. So we have now taken this outfall that's there, which it was very hard to get to, so we had to go around this one obstruction. We went to the south side of it. And we're now going to put it over here, and it outfalls in the same place where it was going in the Martin Pond, as we call it. Let's see here. We have at this point, I should be walking with it. Yeah. Oh, lovely. Okay, so we're going to have more conveyance that will be able to go through into Martin Pond here. The connection that goes out of the Martin Pond itself is also very restrictive, and we have gone ahead and planned right now also as part of Jerry's Lake June project. We're going to widen the ditch that's there, make it some deeper, and we're going to put a much larger crossing underneath here. Now, because there are some downstream water elevation rises, it's not going out of the top of banks or anything like that, but because there is that, Swiftman will not allow us at this given point to have that connection complete. So we are blocking one of the two pipes, and we're still looking at this point to address those comments, and once we do that, we're going to go ahead and open it up again, and then this whole area is going to have a lot better service. So, and everyone should be happy. And they'll live happily ever after. The end. From Wee Lake to Lake June, there is a ditch. Go ahead and go back here. Right now, here's where it's outfalling. There is water. There is a connection here already. It is going to the north side of Wee Lake. And there is a ditch that it goes all the way over to Rogier Road. It is undersized, and we were going to go ahead and increase the size of it. But even with the way it is, it does not do anything to the model. It does not have any adverse effects on it. Right now it will do it, and it will do it right. It rains there now. There is a pipe underneath Rogier Road. I believe it's like a 24-inch pipe. We had wanted to increase that one too, but we had Lake June was very much against it and didn't quite understand. Yes?
Yes, we live on Timber Pond at 87.
Yeah, you were saying somewhere over here, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, what impact, if any, will this have on our water level back there? I was talking about 10 photos of birds and ducks in water
Mm-hmm.
at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And since the owner does not allow anything to do anything at Wee Lake, what impact is that going to have on our water level?
The water level, according to the model, the way we have it, there is almost no impact at all to it. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but
Almost more or almost less?
none. See, the thing about it is that we have at the end of this also a backflow preventer, which I believe is mentioned in there. It allows only unidirectional flow, one direction out from Lake Meade. Okay, so if any, there would be more water going there. But the way the model reads, by the way, there is no water level rising going. So, go ahead.
Presently, there's a
A dry line. Yes, so we have a pipe in the ground which has a connection where we can bring our pumps to, and it would be able to pump it out. What we're going to be doing is we're going to take that out. We're going to put a 24-inch pipe going this direction, and that connection, I guess I put it rather blunt, in very small words, the connection is a 24-inch pipe that is going here. And that will...
Flow north?
Yes.
But you said everything flows south.
No?
And that whole exit,
No, not that I remember saying.
no, everything flows north?
Everything flows here from Parsons here to almost Windhorst to about the railroad tracks, and then here Kings Way. Almost all of that comes right here in the end result. Well, this is coming in here, and you know, but this is not coming here. The topography is all coming down, and it has several ponds in this areas, like one here, and down here what we call Brenda Pond, and whatever else is one that we wind up expanding, and stuff like that. But everything in the end, if you would keep on pumping water into this whole system, and all those ponds are full, and all the little catchments, it will all wind up here.
What's the elevation of Meade Lake compared to Lake Meade?
Varies. The elevation, you're talking about the seasonal high water level? The surface water level, the seasonal high water level, I should say, on Wee Lake is actually lower, is actually higher than Lake Meade.
So you're going to make water run?
No, only during emergencies when this is actually staging up too high, it will go out to Wee Lake.
And what happens to the people that own property around Meade Lake?
They will receive the same. They will have to receive it. First of all, this was a historical connection that was illegally severed. We have to put that back. Okay?
I think somebody said water runs south of Larson. You just said Meade Lake is higher than Lake Meade.
That is correct.
So the water runs south.
Groundwater conditions are different in the Wee Lake and Lake Meade. You will find that if this is indeed the groundwater, then you're right about that.
Why don't we show anything south of Lake Meade? The natural flow of the water is north to south.
There is no way for these to go right now. It's a blind. It's a dead end. Development. Railroad tracks blocks one side. Jersey blocks the other.
Is it safe to say that they beat that part that you're not showing?
Mhm.
That's dead end.
Yes. And it's not that much farther. It's just past Davis Park.
Is it the railroad tracks that created the dead end?
I don't know. I didn't look quite that far. It could have been, for all I know, but I think that if they have anything, they normally go ahead and put pipes underneath it. But nonetheless, I know of no outfall in that direction.
So you didn't look south.
It was looked at. We have all the flow patterns in the entire county, and this was the connection that it makes, or historically also made.
Historically, how far back?
Oh, good God, I wouldn't know.
After the railroad tracks.
See, everything has a boundary sometime or the other, so.
Before this building.
Yeah. If you look at the aerials, and if you, we have the aerials that go way back into, the 20s and whatever else, you can see the contours show this connection easily.
Right, but what you described is a ditch at the north end of Meade Lake. You called it a
Yes.
historical ditch, but I actually own that property.
Mhm.
That's a man-made ditch. It's not a historical ditch.
Well, there was a historical ditch here. There was a ditch here as well. And
I think what I'm hearing you say is that in an overflow, you're going to force the water from the low spot up through Wee Lake. Right?
it's going to go there one way or the other, yes.
You've been pumping, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're going to continue to force
to allow it to go there. We cannot force it through a gravity system.
Well, if you're installing a system that
We're reinstalling a system, yes, exactly right.
without the proper drainage north from Wee Lake, you're going to flood Wee Lake.
Well, we would love to put that connection in, but as you might remember, it does not, we were not allowed to.
But I think maybe I think you're creating a situation, you're not improving the situation, you're putting
The thing about it is,
spin on it, but you're still stuck at Rozier Road with a ditch that is not historical, so you're going to flood Wee Lake.
Wee Lake in itself will overtop Rozier Road at this point and later on as well.
Because you're taking all of everything.
Not because of that. It what it does.
Not because of you.
That's called nature. You mind if? Go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Yes. The connection between Wee Lake and Lake June was a natural ditch, a wetland ditch, okay, that was illegally filled in with culverts put in, and Rozier Road was extended. Rozier Road did not extend all the way between Lake Wee and Lake June. That was a man-made disaster. And I know well because I lived there, okay?
Are you the
And
resident that's over here?
Late 1960s, that was filled in by, at that time, the owner, so he could avoid having to go through his brother's property, which was on the other side of Wee Lake. So don't tell me that that's not accurate. I fished those ponds in the 1960s. I can tell you what was there.
So,
And it was natural. The natural outflow from Lake Meade went through to Wee Lake, across what is now an extension of Jersey Avenue. That too was a man-made disaster that was put in place by men, not by nature, but by men. That was a wetland. That was a trough from Lake Meade to Wee Lake. Lake Wee then went to Lake June, and then they, of course, they built Windhorse Road, and they paved it. Before it was dirt, and it would flood over from Lake June over into Martin Lake, and, from Lake June, and go into Lake Martin, and then across
to Lake Mango and whatever else is, yes.
It was a natural outflow.
Right.
And the water does flow against other people's ideas from the south.
Northward, yes.
Not to change the area.
Go ahead.
I own property on Mobile Place. just
That's right over here, yes.
around your proposed Brown
Yeah.
Pond.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that area, there's about 2.5 acres of
Correct.
field, and the county has purchased that evidently.
That's correct.
And you're going to be putting a pond in there.
That's right.
What's going to happen to the retention pond that my property backs up against right there? at,
That one remains in place.
It's going to stay in place, and that little weir is going to feed Brown Pond, that they put a weir in there. and maybe
That weir is, there is a weir that was put in a few years ago, and I do know about that. We're actually removing that structure. We're moving it farther. We're going to the other side of the thing, and we're going to put a large weir there. We're going to go to the northwest corner of the new pond, and we're going to have it flow out of there.
Okay. So the retention pond that's behind my property will not receive any more water or less water than usual from Parsons or anywhere?
Not really.
And also I want to know about the maintenance of all these things. I've had the county come 2 times since I moved there in 1973 to clean out that retention pond. So will those areas be cleaned out, or do we have to continue to clean them?
The way that it goes is that unless the drainage system is impaired,
Yes.
maintenance is not normally done on them except for a periodic schedule, in which might, I don't really know, Darrell, I think do you know the schedule?
Let me address that question. Maintenance on these ponds, we maintain the ponds for function aesthetics. So the plants and trees and vegetation in the water actually does help to filter and clean the water. So we generally don't remove them unless they become a problem to the actual functioning of the system. Frequently, sometimes you'll have a control structure, something that becomes plugged up or blocked by the vegetation. In those circumstances, we do remove the vegetation adjacent to the structure itself, just to allow the system to function. And in extreme situations, we do remove some of the vegetation, whatever is required for the system to really start functioning again, if it's determined that it's not functioning.
So that retention pond will remain open. That's all I can look at, because no one ever comes to mow it, they come and lean on their shovel and look at it and left, and we have a crew come and just take a good look at it, and nothing's ever been done to just at least clear it. Now you have access to it besides going through my property. You used to go through the signs saying you go through. Now you're going to be able to go to their retention pond from that pasture area where the ground pond is. But you probably won't, what are you going to do then?
Well, the ponds, I believe the ponds in the county are on semi-annual cycle of these mowed. Is that correct, Darrell? They're mowed twice a year?
In every other sector?
Okay, I'm not sure. We will do this on the comment sheet. If you put that comment down, just like the question and answer, some more detailed information on
Yes,
that.
that sounds great.
Darrell O'Neill with our maintenance unit. They're only recently in charge of, they only recently took possession or in charge of, became in charge of the area that you live in.
Yes, they do.
And he will determine what is required and we'll get an answer back.
Great, because from Mobile is a cul-de-sac, and at about the 2 o'clock position, water runs into that retention pond. And we have been trying to get someone for a year and 3 months to just clean that ditch out so the water doesn't remain in the circle or in the cul-de-sac. And I just wanted to doing all this and maybe to help.
Well, cleaning of ditches, we can do that for you. So just put that on your
What's your
comment
name
sheet.
and telephone number?
Put that on the comment sheet and see what we can do.
He'll bring a shovel.
On your comment sheet,
Okay, thanks.
will you reply to everybody who makes a comment?
Yes.
Including all
Yes.
comments? All comments being copied back, or you just individually reply?
They will be individually replied to.
Yeah, because frequently we get questions regarding many things that say, and there are things that will actually not pertain to this project. We can actually give those comments to the area, the people in the area that control those things. Like maintenance will be addressed by our maintenance personnel. So they will respond to you in whatever fashion you note on it that you want for the response. whether
Well,
email
as
or-
far as these projects, sorry, like me, the woman's comments just now, that would just come back to her, or would it come back to everybody who makes a comment, just to clarify her response?
Her name is going to be on the sheet for their response.
It does become, of course, public record, so you can request any of these comments
I
back.
mean, I think there's going to be a lot of redundant questions.
Could be, yes.
So, okay.
Go ahead. Yes. Correct. Yes.
What I would like to know is that large pond that's back there, I know at one point someone came in there and dug out people, I don't know about the county, I don't know who did it, to be honest.
How long ago was this?
It's been years back.
I think we purchased it maybe in 2004 or something like that. I think we purchased it maybe in 2002 2004, 2006, something like that. No, that's the Larson Pond is what we're talking about here. Yeah, you're talking about the Higgins Pond. Yeah, I know.
Now, was that originally a man-made pond? Because I have been told many years ago that was a sinkhole.
It was a relic sinkhole, exactly right. And in the meantime, there is no connectivity to the aquifer with it anymore, which is also why it fills up and overflows.
And there is an alligator.
Oh,
I don't know how big it is.
I have not seen them yet.
But the water that accumulates
Mhm.
back here, when they said after my garden, and actually destroyed oak trees from sitting in the water.
And this should help it some in any case.
And when we talk about maintenance, mosquitoes, you can't be outside with the water stagnant.
And that is something that you can contact mosquito control for, and they will spray on occasion and upon availability, I believe. You can put that also in there, and we can get you in contact with whoever that is. Used to be Fernandez, but go ahead.
Did I understand you to say that everything that you're going to be doing is not going to have a direct effect on the Lake Meade that is right off of Davis Park, right on Blue Street? Is any of this going to affect that body of water?
In terms of the volume or the quality of it, okay. As I said already, there's going to be some treatment. There's going to be treatment here before it gets released there. This is going to hold some of the water, and it's going to release it slowly. Because of timing, the way that the water hits this, it should be recovered here already before this water gets introduced into it. It's not that we're making it so, it's just that's what naturally happens.
I understand two things.
Mhm.
That particular lake is, the water quality is extremely poor, and I'm probably being gracious in saying it. So, and we get a lot of trash that comes through, bottles and paper trash that
Mhm.
goes to that. And is there going to be something done is that going to be taken care of when it gets?
What we are putting in here is going to have, like I said, 2 levels of treatment before it gets there. As far as the flows, the water that's coming there already now, we're not going to be doing anything about that right now.
Break that goes over there to stop the bottles and garbage from coming into that body of water?
See, I don't know where you're talking about its inflow right now. You're talking about maybe this pond that is up.
I'm talking about Lake Meade that is directly outside of Davis.
Understand that?
No, it's below.
Oh, you're talking about these? Oh, well, yeah, you're talking about this area here, for instance. No, that's no change.
Drains that come out of Timber Pond subdivision.
Yes, I'm getting it now. No, we're not doing anything about that. That's not part of the scope of this project whatsoever.
Is that the parks job then, where water, so much water comes in during rain, and some part of Davis Park is kind of flooded in that great big, vast open area? Sometimes there's so much, will this help keep water from going in, or it won't have anything to do with it?
It really won't have much to do with it, no.
Well, isn't there a weir at the end of Brown Pond, and when
Ye-
water level gets so high, that's going to spill over into
That's correct.
Davis Park?
Yeah, if you call it Davis Park, we call it Lake Meade, the whole thing.
Yeah, but then
Because it equalizes out to one big pond anyway, so, or one big lake.
all that spillover water is going to flow into, how's it going to get to Lake Meade?
This all stages up. It all becomes one big pond finally.
Big pond,
Oh, yep,
okay.
that's what it always has.
Actually, no physical connection between,
No, overland flow.
not even
Nope. It just fills up and goes left and right until it makes it through the outfall.
How about where you have it labeled Lake Meade?
Yes?
Where you have it labeled Lake Meade and the pond
talking about?
Mhm.
Isn't there a brim or whatever y'all call it in between those two?
A berm, there is, well, depends on how low the water goes. Otherwise, it's just a ridge in the bottom of the pond. So, huh?
Still there?
Well, you look at the picture, you can see all these, as you call, ridges. They are, obviously, this part of any pond's topography, or bathymetry, really.
The natural topography of it is the berm, and then when the water level is so high, it's going to overflow the berm.
I live at 517 Western.
Okay. 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 What's going to happen over there is there will not be a pump coming there again. So that's we're going to just we're just going to go into the yards. We're going to put the pipe in. After we're out of there, there's probably you're not going to see us for a while, quite some time. From the tearing up the yards, as you're saying, it really shouldn't take very long, maybe 2-3 weeks, month maybe, max. Well, I can tell you, right now the project has already been awarded by, sorry, last time I made that's a mistake already. It's going to be awarded by the board on the 8th of February. So then after that, it's going to be maybe another month and a half, maybe.
And so maybe heavy trucks again between the two houses. The last time you guys cleaned out the vegetation, which obviously did not last very long.
Of course not.
I don't know what they were, but very expensive things that the trucks would run up the yard and everything like that, and the plans.
If anything that they wind up rutting up or otherwise, it's going to be in the same condition as before or better, depending on how bad it is. And I remember between the yards there, it's actually quite nice. So if you have any objections, any problems with it, you let us know, and the contractor is responsible for restoring it to original condition.
They came to our house and our next door neighbors and gave us actual cards so that if we had any issues or problems, we could call directly. So, I'd like to have some sort of feedback.
Sure. As a matter of fact, we'll give you the contact information of the construction people if you wish, our representative to start off with. It's always best to go to the county's representative rather than go to the contractor. You never know if it's ever going to get through. So you talk to us, and
Our construction personnel will contact you before they actually come in and start digging up the yard.
we'll be putting up signs.
The houses where the dry line is currently will be excavated, and that will be removed, new pipe will be put in. So there will be no need to put protective matting or anything down like they did when they were doing the vegetation removal. But they'll notify you before they come.
Anyone else? Okay.
Okay. Flood insurance is based upon the FEMA maps,
Mm-hmm.
and they're based upon 5-year floodplain. With all these improvements that you're doing, would there be any significant cost reduction in what we're having to pay for flood insurance?
At this given point, this is not our department in that respect. Now, this is something that will over time perhaps drop the flood insurance, the rates, but, go ahead.
Our projects are generally designed for a 25-year event, and I might be mistaken, but I believe the flood maps are based on a 100-year flood event. Our projects do not, and will not even come close to handling the flow for a 100-year event. So the floodplain really should not be affected, at least to my knowledge.
It'll be reduced a little bit, but it won't be that it's gone.
Not a
So that would have been nice. Well, it depends on how close you're to the lake. It might make a difference. That's what I'm saying. Okay, go ahead.
The board is going to award the project with the Board of County Commissioners
Correct.
on Wednesday,
On the 8th, whatever that is, yeah.
and that's for the Lake Meade.
Correct, yes.
So you expect to have the money then to go ahead and build this
About 60.
RCP 24-inch pipe. from
That's correct.
And I'm still confused that you were pumping the water uphill.
Mm.
And I don't understand.
There was no gravity flow possible. This was so deep now because everything was filled up to put Jersey in that there was no convenient way of putting a short little piece of pipe across like there used to be a short connection. Now we had to go a long way around. But we are actually bucking a lot of, we're going through a pretty deep cut to about 8 feet deep or so. So we had to bring it over the hump, that's all.
Okay, just so I'm clear, the idea is in a 25-year storm event, that pipe might become full and have to drain up into the lake, or is it anything from 25 years above?
No, not necessarily, no, not at all. There will be lower events at times that'll do that. This is just simply for heavy flows that it's going to be utilizing this.
Have you seen any of those events since '04?
I don't know.
Will the construction for Brown Pond come in through Fallen Oak Lane and Crabtree Pond area?
It's what we call means and methods. Basically, however the contractor decides that he wants to do it, he's going to ask us for permission. And if he gets permission from us, then at that point, they'll determine the route. Either it's going to be through the park, or it's going to be behind, through Fallen Oak Lane, or it's going to be, going direction Jersey, or it's going to go Parsons, or too many variables. Whatever works best for them.
Yes, on the pipe that you're proposing here for Lake Meade to go into Martin Pond,
Mm-hmm.
it says on the overview here that you're replacing an 18
Mm-hmm.
with a 30.
Correct. Yes.
You're going to dig up the 18.
No. Actually, we're going to abandon it in place. We're going to abandon it in place. We're going to leave it there.
You're not replacing it, you're just adding.
We are abandoning the portion that goes from Lake June itself to the boundary line of Lake June. From there on, we are going to go ahead and make it 30-inch. So that part we're replacing. But the part that is within Lake June, we're going to abandon that where it's at.
How are you going to abandon that? Are you going to cap that off?
Both ends, most likely, and that's it. And though, of course, then Lake June would have to approve that. If they don't, then, well, it's just going to be there.
One other question. How are you going to gain access to that property there to be able to do this?
Because we have ingress, egress through the Martin property right over here, and we have an easement over to this point itself, so we have a continuity.
So you're going to come off the road through into that easement?
No, we're going to be coming off of Windhorst.
So you're going to come through our property on private roads?
Windhorst. We're going to come through our ingress easement, ingress egress easement off of the Martin property, which is to your east. Correct. We would not want to be going through Lake June for the simple reason that if we do, we could be tearing up roads, and it's not a good idea.
You're moving the pipe? Is the pipe going to now private owned?
And right now, it's going to be a county-owned drainage easement, which is coming through Miss Carroll's property. I forget what her last name was, so. Correct, yes. Mm-hmm. You're talking about the Wee Lake, is this what you're talking about?
Actually divides, it's a, just a solid road, actually, there's a man-made road across that, so that they could dig the peak from both ponds.
Oh, you're talking about the division between Lake June East and West?
Is that ever going to come out?
Nope. No, we had well, it might come sometime, but we had approached the property owner. As a matter of fact, he was right, let me see here, right up here at the end of Palm Drive. And he did not want that water coming across. He was really the only one that didn't want it, so can't do it. Not in a historical connection, we can't do it. But that would have been actually our preferred method, to put it first to Lake June East and then pick it up from there, but he wouldn't allow for it, so we didn't. Okay, go ahead.
The outflow pipe from Lake Meade to Wee Lake, is that a controlled device or is it a continuous flow?
You're talking about the Rozier Road crossing then?
No,
This one?
Lake Meade to Wee Lake,
Oh,
under Jersey?
under Jersey. Okay, this one here?
Yeah.
It's just simply the invert controls it. It's right now at the intake level of the existing dry pump line.
The only thing I'm getting at is like, when they had the pump over there, we'd have to wait until the water was all the way up in our backyard before the county could come out and put the pump in.
Mm-hmm.
Will this device be continuous flow or will someone have to come out and open it?
Oh, no. It's no, it'll happen whenever the water level gets too high. And that is, of course, assuming also that the water level in Wee Lake is not higher than Lake Meade.
How high is too high? I mean, how do you determine that? It can still reach our houses before it gets high enough to...
Well, nature will have it that this whole area will be completely under. I mean, that just happens.
Is it going to be on the same plane as the existing intake?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're all right, because can't go any higher than that. Have you seen that?
There is, by the way,
Maybe 4 or 5 feet up.
there is, by the way, a mechanism that can be used if we absolutely have to. If Lake Meade would be going completely under, there is a mechanism we have at the last structure. We have a 3-foot deeper sump, which means the deeper point in it, that if we need to, we would have only from here to here that we could pump it. And we don't need a dry line for that. And that would be only in such a case where state of emergency or something like that. Go ahead.
Plans, I'm looking here, it says that seasonal high water to be lake at 31.7. Control elevation invert of 30, and then your...
Okay.
How are you not going to drain the lake?
For one thing, there is a backflow preventer. If you look at the plans, you will see that actually. Okay. That is right here at the end of our pipe, where it is inside of Wee Lake. There is basically a flap that just is there in place. Right now, if you look there, at the end of the force main that's there is already one of them. You can see how that functions, even though it's basically, that one is just to keep the animals out of there, I think.
Ron, you can tell them what page you turn to on the other side.
Actually, it would be one of the first, it would be PP1 probably.
Turn to in the plan so you see exactly what
Right over here. And if you want to know, the detail is on D1.
What page?
D1.
turn to page D1, there's a detail.
This one is the detail. In the top left corner, there's a detail for the backflow preventer. You can see it here from the front, from the side, and with it open. We had originally planned to do it because there was so much wetland, and it was also habitat for some sandhill cranes and what have you not. We couldn't get any real benefit out of it, and it would actually cost us more in terms of that we would have to actually mitigate for it. So they really didn't see it as anything beneficial to nature whatsoever. So that's why we had to go over and get another piece of property to do the attenuation, to be able to store some of the flows that are coming from Larson.
Can you tell me, from a historical point of view, how much water Lake Meade used to hold and how much water Lake Meade can hold nowadays?
I have absolutely no idea.
It would be substantially less.
Exactly right.
So now you're bringing possibly even more water into a place that contains less capacity, and you're just shifting the risk further downstream to the people. So the further downstream you are, the more you're affected by the possibilities of some level of flooding.
You could say that. On the other hand, we're also reducing the risk by putting in this outfall, which, well, up to this point hasn't been there for many, many a year. Well, water does go downstream.
But if you address the capacity issue, you would reduce the risk for all.
Well, if you're suggesting that we take out all the development in here, I guess you're right.
That's why I suggested the question of 20 years ago after Timber Pond subdivision was built. Timber Pond subdivision had a certain risk level, of course, like every neighborhood has, but because of the quantity of capacity of Lake Meade, it wasn't as bad as it is today. Now you're planning on draining Lake Meade downstream to other people, and you're just shifting.
We're not, if you look at the plans, you'll see right now, actually if you look in the field most days, you will find that the water level is nowhere near the bottom of the pipe. As a matter of fact, so far you'd be surprised that it even is for that. So it's only when the water level gets that high that it's going to start functioning. That is when all of these lakes are all connected, and it won't be connecting Crabtree, it's better not. But it has, right now, it has connected over this bridge here as well. And that was, of course, it does. However, we have, in the project that was, well, I don't even remember how many years ago, but the project manager at the time was Mike Hubbard, yes. And he wound up putting in a system here that allowed it to first stage up to this point, the water level to go up, and then it would go ahead and take the pipe, double, rather large pipe, a 29-inch by 45 by 29-inch pipes. That is correct. The depth, as long as it goes below the groundwater level, is immaterial. It doesn't create any storage. But anyway, we have it all the way down to the groundwater and then a little bit, just so that to prevent the... We're taking all of it. We will have a berm around it, a maintenance berm, but that is all that's going to remain of the the land. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
What can be anticipated about the capacity of Lake Meade 20 years from now?
Well, everything is probably going to get worse. I'm not in project, how do you call that thing again? PGMD.
When is it going to get dredged to return to the safe levels that we used to have?
It was never First of all, the environmental agencies wouldn't allow it. That's the first thing. But second of all, that was never a function of it silting in. The volume reduction in this whole area is not because of that. It's because of the simple fact that everyone's been building.
So you're saying the silting in is insignificant?
Correct.
Because nobody's built any new houses around Timber Pond
Mm-hmm.
in the past 20 years.
Then there is still the upstream part of it where even if you're outside of this whole area, everything still comes to it. So if there's development around you, that will contribute to your problem as well. Mm-hmm, yeah. But they're looking for volume right now.
Is Swift concerned about the increasing risk to the homeowner?
This is the reason why they have allowed for zero impact, which means to say you're not allowed to raise the water level upstream or downstream by any amount more. It used to be there was a tenth, which is basically a little bit more than an inch and a quarter. So that no longer is permissible. It's zero tolerance kind of a deal. Which is why when we wind up getting our permits, then it means that we are not impacting the areas, at least not according to the regional model that we're showing, but that we know of, since. Mm-hmm. Yes?
I live on 405.
Rosier Road. 405 Rosier Road.
Okay.
And where I live, we have I've lived there 14 and a half years. And when we moved here, this whole area was definitely beautiful. It had grass, it had produce, vegetation. And every time that a bad storm would hit the area, I would say about 50%, whether it was all day or half a day, half the time, then the water would obviously flow across Rosier Road. And where my house is, it's downstream from there. And where my car is, and the driveway, the water comes up and passes my driveway. It goes up a little bit hill, but I have to keep reinforcing this area and building it up with grass, and it keeps destroying all of the lawn that I have planted there. In 405, where I live, and then next door to me at 403, then there's, then you see Taylor Road, and the house that curves there, Taylor Road, turns into Rosier Road, and you keep seeing that whole area get depleted of the grass and vegetation. And then holes also in the being eroded on the road, and so the roots and things are tearing up the road. And when it rains, we also flood. And right outside my front door, it's flooding. And I'm going to say several inches, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches. Then the rain will stop and it will eventually flow away. But again, it's eroding all of our lawn and our grass. And then the driveway where I moved, it was wonderful, but the overflow from the storm drainage coming through my area is eroding the concrete driveway where I live. Okay. It's awful.
This is, of course, nothing that's part of the scope of this project. However, if you have any concerns, please put it on the form, and we'll make sure that if we're in the area anyway, we'll look at it ourselves, and if you wish to, we will talk to you. Well, I guess it becomes a little bit harder, but we can send you an email and give you any kind of an idea about what can be done. But we'll get you in contact with who it's...
So, with the reason I'm here at this meeting is because you're talking about diverting water flow and obviously building things for overflows from ponds to the drain. So that's why I'm attending this meeting, to see how you're going to be diverting that water and how it will impact where I live.
This specific area is coming into Rosier Road, as I can see it. This is not something that we are addressing. It's not part of the scope. I mean, obviously, there are many places in the county we're not going to be able to work at this point. However, if you do give us the information, we will look at this, and we will go ahead and see what, we'll give you an answer at least to what we can or cannot do. But it won't be in this project, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, it's a separate issue. All right.
Yes.
Mike,
Go ahead.
back to this connection from Lake Meade to Lake. You say something about sump pump at the end?
A sump, there is a sump in the bottom of the thing, which means it's just a depression in the structure itself, which is 3 feet deeper than the flow line of this thing. Now, sure. It's not a detail, it's just simply statement on PP1, where it says the invert or the sump elevation. PP1, yeah, plan profile 1. If you look at structure 2, S2, PP1, and it's on S2, structure 2, the one here where it goes on the bend. S2. Yes. The structure number is S2. You can see where it says sump, the bottom line of it. Says right here. The sump is at 27.0, which is 3 foot below the invert, which is at 30. And that's where they can put the intake of a pump in there, and just.
Okay. Is there a detail on the end of that structure here somewhere?
It does not require one. It just means that when they build a structure and put it in the ground, it's just going to have a depression, basically this much more, so they can hang their hose into it and suck the water out through there.
So it's a concrete structure.
Correct.
3 feet lower than the pipe coming in.
Correct.
That would allow you to put a pump.
Correct. Not the pump, just the intake for the pump. Yes. You basically would have a hose about this much that would be dropped into the structure. It would have a screen on the bottom, and that's where they would suck everything in from.
Okay, so you anticipate that at some point in time, that you may still have a condition where you have a pump?
Perhaps. It doesn't cost any more, so that's why we're doing it. Well, I understand, but the thing is, I was looking at this. We have a way that we can force the water through. That's true, and that's right now in the ground. It is not a good system to use, obviously, for many reasons. First of all, you're going to have a pump sitting there for days running. Then you have other things like you have to get someone to bring that pump over there and connect it. And maybe you can, maybe you can't. You have to keep it fed with the diesel and whatever else is. You have to have people checking it all the time. It's just not good.
You did this in 2004.
That's correct.
And again, all my neighbors that are here know that we lay still don't consider it.
And what happened also is that someone made a little mistake there, I think, because they drained too much of Lake Meade, but
Yeah, they didn't get the pump to the north side.
they just kept on, yeah. They didn't, unfortunately, there was a miscommunication, and they didn't switch the pump off soon enough.
But in a perfect world, if you had a better connection between Meade Lake and Meade Lake, would that eliminate the risk of Meade Lake flooding again?
If we have a better connection to it, first of all, Rosier Road is always going to, well, not always, but from what I was told in the model, no matter what you put under Rosier Road, it's pretty much going to want to flood over. It's just going to overtop it. Yes. It is just because how low this road is in the first place in relation to the flood levels in the right now, before or after.
But again, I go back to my question, is how do you prevent Meade Lake from flooding like you did in 2004? Right now, I don't see that solution anywhere.
What it did in '04, no, there is no,
Paved all the way up to the top of Rosary Road, and then it trickled over Rosary Road.
right.
The elevation.
We would have loved to do it. We would have loved to put a pipe under there. That was what we had a grant for. We had money allocated for it.
You need more than just a pipe, you need a way.
You need to get the land. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Which there is a ditch now, but it's yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Mm-hmm. No, as a matter of fact, what's going to happen is that everything's going to stay below the road level. What's going to happen normally is that everything's going to come down Parsons first, and it's going to go to a pre-treatment pond. Basically, it's a little pond in front of the Larson Pond. It's going to go into there first, and it's going to get into the Larson Pond itself. Then the rest of this 1 mile is going to come in. The whole square mile is all going to start coming in. But you have to understand, that's going to take many, many hours, in many cases, many days before it even reaches. So Parsons will be dry long before this water will ever reach this. So no, it's not going to do anything to Parsons itself. Yes, we are, a little bit. As much as we can under the circumstances. It's rather limited in what is available. But that's also why we had to take it and put that other pond there. If we could have made it much bigger, we could have avoided this other pond over here. But since we couldn't, we put it over here instead. It's all connected. Oh. Okay, go ahead.
So do I understand it correctly that the part of Lake Meade that's not featured on your diagram here is not affected unless that berm overflows?
Correct.
So it is connected.
It's all connected. Exactly right. Exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yes. We are here to protect the county from flooding. Okay, the one way or the other, and this is right now because we have this one very sensitive area, which is the Larson Pond, which floods frequently because of the large contributing area. We are creating a place for it to go, and preferably not through someone's house. Well, if there is enough concern, then that of course can be voiced at all times. You will find as much pro as you will find some con. So normally the con is going to be more aesthetics, and it's going to be more what ifs. Whereas for the pros, well, they flood. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I know, like, in middle school,
Mm-hmm.
every time, like, the storm really hits really bad, our school, like, it's all flooded.
Mm-hmm. You're saying Horseman?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
The event we're doing that, so right by the,
But the intersection over by Larson and Sutton?
Will it go westward into Larson?
This system goes there, yes, exactly right. There is okay, if you look at Horace Mann is this right here. There is in the back here, there is a linear retention area, which it basically just handles some of this, but basically it wants to go over here and goes through this ditch next to Sutton. And then it goes south on the both the east and the west side of Sutton. And then it collects over by Larson's. There it comes in together, and it goes into the sinkhole, or as you say. Mhm.
back once our back of school, like all flooded out, go out there, like.
If you could tell me if it's a north, east, south, or west side of the school, because it's rather large. Southeast? So you're talking by the track? Okay. There is that pond there that we have, of course. It's... Well, right now, it should be a little bit better because obviously with the Larson Pond now being larger and having an outfall, it should be able to drain somewhere now instead of what it was doing before and just standing there.
And also, last time, it's not on that, but by the railroad, the train tracks,
Mm-hmm.
like, down there.
Yes.
They had a building there.
Mm-hmm. I am not aware of the improvements there, sorry. No idea. No, I am completely unaware of this. So I just haven't been there at the time that they were doing any construction, so, and it's not. Go ahead.
As she brought up earlier, that gentleman down at the end asked a question about historic, about flooding. To the west of Parsons Avenue, going towards Lake Meade, Lake Weed, Lake June, the ground is downhill.
Correct.
Anytime it rains, all of the rainwater sheds towards Lake Meade, Lake Weed, and Lake June. I have seen historically in the 70s, okay, and other times, that Lake Meade, and June were all one solid mass of water.
Absolutely correct.
That can be prevented.
Correct.
As you brought up earlier, what has exacerbated the problem is building. Okay, uncontrolled, just let loose and do and build any way you want. That's why me and we are separated, is because the builder wanted 4 more houses. That's all. And that's why if anybody comes in and builds in this area, especially irresponsible, and starts putting up berms and roadways and all, they're going to exacerbate flooding in that area, and you won't have to have a 25-year event or a 100-year event. It'll be an everyday event because the water doesn't jump roads.
If left uncontrolled, completely uncontrolled, you're absolutely right, and that's what would happen.
Thank you, Lord.
But we do have planning growth management to kind of curtail that. There, so.
Let me make a comment real quick, see where we're all heading on this one little topic here. Obviously, technology has brought us much further than we were back in the 70s. We're able to analyze things much more accurately, determine much more precisely what's going to happen. Obviously, Mother Nature is an unknown factor. So say, for instance, a 25-year event is expected to happen once every 25 years. That's why they call it 25
Statistically.
But in actuality, you could have it 3 or 4 times in 1 year.
Could have it in a month.
So it just depends. And development, yes, development was, and the way we managed development was much different back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s than it is now. And obviously even now we're probably not perfect, but I do believe we do a much better job at controlling things. And now Swift Mud, when did Swift Mud come into
In the 70s. 72 or something, I don't know.
Anyway, Swift Mud does a pretty good job at making sure we don't move any more water to areas and cause people to flood downstream than what historically occurred. Although during some events, obviously, nothing is 100% perfect. But we do our best to ensure that we cause no flooding downstream. And that's why we're not allowed to raise the water. For these 2 projects, we've done a very extensive hydraulic analysis of this basin to do our best to ensure that we're not going to cause any flooding. that did not historically happen in England. So water is going to be high. When you live on a lake, you have to expect for water to go there. That's why there's water in the lake. If water didn't go to the lake, it would just be a hole in the ground, a dry lake. So if you live on a lake, you have to expect water to go to it. So during rainy seasons, hurricanes, everything else, it's going to flood, and your backyard is going to be part of it. You're going to have mosquitoes, you're going to have alligators, you're going to have snakes, whatever. That is what lives in the lake. You can't control that, and I don't know if we really want to control that. That's why a lot of people live on lakes. They like nature. But we do our best to control things and to provide a good product for the community that we serve.
Right now, this, what I keep on calling a model, we're talking about the area. All this flow has been taken into account in one continuous system that goes all the way through here, goes to Highview, crosses Highview, goes to Lake Mango, through Lake Mango goes to the Broadway and Williams, then by the Carmax, through there to the Bypass Canal. Bypass Canal is considered just about bay. So, but everything is accounted for in this one model. So every last bit of it, all the way down to the railroad track, probably is where the lowest point is, or the highest point is, the ridge that we cannot break. The water quality in itself, as I mentioned, treatment here, and when it gets over to here, well, this water itself is, as far as I know, pretty clean, but it'll still stage up. No. Again, this is a historical recreation, so. Mm-hmm. 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 With the amount of water that goes through there, you're right, we could. Anything is possible. You can create a larger pipe and do it that way. However, the amount of time that it's going to spend going over the road and where it's at probably was determined it wasn't enough of a nuisance to. There is a very steep slope along Sutton, very steep, and it's eroding that gully out like crazy. I know. I've been working in that area a long time. Mm-hmm. The best way, well, obviously you'd have to go underneath the road with it, so that's why I'm saying a pipe. We could go ahead and put a box culvert in there, which means a box that's about this and this that allows water to go through. However, you have other utilities also in the way. Now you have a sanitary line there, I know of, a water line, and sanitary lines, they follow the grade, which means you cannot make it go underneath and then come back up again unless you put a pump station in. So sometimes they say enough. With enough land, it could be done. We could go farther to the west with it, and of course that's private property, so we'd have to acquire those properties, and we'd have to have the school on the other side. They have a lot of parking areas there, and a road, access road. Correct. Yeah, and I understand. It's just something that with the frequency at which it happens, it is determined to not be that much of an issue.
Let me ask one question real quick. If you've noticed, we've had a few people first meander out. Do we have anybody that actually is here for just the late June presentation? So we're going to put that here in just about 2 or 3 minutes. Finishing up, we'll answer one more question. Any further questions regarding the Lake Meade project? Ron will be here after we conclude the meeting, and he'll be over here.
Thought we did.
He'll be up here to ask any questions you wish at that time.
But by the way, for your information, all the information about Lake June is already.
Well, we just
But-
have to make sure that you present some plans.
Okay. Opposite side. Come on. Go ahead.
I just have a quick question,
Yes.
if I may.
Yes.
How soon will we start to work on the ground pond?
As soon as we can, hopefully before the wet season, but it's going to be, it should be pretty soon. Maybe a month and a half, but I don't think they're going to be quite that quick. They'll have to do clearing and grubbing, which means they take all the stuff out of the way first. If you're talking about actual physical digging, they normally wind up doing that first in the project. I really can't vouch for it.
As far as the construction standpoint, there's various parts of this project, this area. We don't really have any control over exactly when the actual project starts. Neither do we have control over what the contractor, where he wishes to work first. So the actual construction schedule, we have the contract, what will work best for this company. And actually, frequently, material, like they have pipe, they may do pipe first. But typically, they're going to get Ron is correct. We're going to try to do an excavation of the pond first. But there's a couple of locations where we're going to be working. We don't really know exactly where we're going to start construction.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron. Very well done.
Are you going to, Ron, are you going to continue on with the Lake Meade? Because I have a question.
Well,
Okay, well, you made a comment earlier, and I would like you to respond to the question. Okay, you commented earlier that you had considered going through East Lake Meade for the outflow into Martin Lake. Okay? But the owner had said no.
Correct.
Okay? Why have you diverted to the east of Lake June or East Lake June rather than the main Lake June? Because East Lake June could hold much less water or inflow than West Lake June. And in addition to that, I know the majority of East Lake June and you didn't talk to me.
We had gotten, see, the thing about it, we had when we were looking through the options, we were told by specifically one resident, and that's the one at the end of the right, and he was the one that basically wound up saying, no way. He was concerned about flooding and erosion.
Well, I can understand that because you wouldn't have the capacity. You wouldn't have capacity, and you would extend flooding into the other 2/3 of what I own, making wetlands more wet.
We had wanted to, again, do some enhancement, and this is why we were doing that. We were going to increase the depth there. We're going to make it water rather than the peat bog that it is now. On the other hand, when the environmental scientists looked at it, they said, hey, this is nice.
But the natural outflow toward Lake June was that north side of that.
That's correct.
Particular,
Yes.
which is now
The
east.
historical areas show the contours,
There was a natural ditch that went
Exactly.
through the woods.
Exactly.
Okay, which stopped being used and because there wasn't enough water in the east side.
Well,
So it grew up.
Actually, what happened is that the developer for the he was doing all developments over there, and he wanted to close the ditch in, and he did. There was then a court case against this person. This was on the Martin's property, by the way, and also part on the Lake June side. And the court case was won not by the developer in any case. So that was all because someone wound up illegally placing a pipe at that ditch. And it was basically that to say that if the time comes that there is flooding problem, you have a right to maintain the pipe.
Okay, well, I was curious about that.
Yeah.
Because our intention for years was to take that,
The
burn, to take that, what the gentleman had done in the 60s and take it out and revert back to the full-size boat.
And that's what we had wanted to do too. And but again, environmental agencies decided that was not a good thing. If it had been, we would have done exactly that, which would have increased the storage capacity in Lake June overall, which would have been good in that respect. But again, we were something.
I know the homeowners association is concerned about access to power boats and everything else. And someone had talked to me years ago about it. No, I agree. No,
but I don't think that was the reason, by the way. It was a peat bog, which is why the land bridge was there and everything. So if that bridge had been taken out, we wouldn't have taken it out like this much below the water line or normal level. But they didn't want us to access or bridge anything out of the bottom of that east side. So it wasn't worth it to them. They didn't want us to do it. We'd have to actually get mitigation for it, which is not a good thing either. Okay, Jerry?
Okay, for Lake June, is the flow coming up? Ron already described the flow come over here. I don't have a lot of voice. So water flows over Lake June, and we open up the bigger pipe from Lake June, goes to Martin's Pond, and we also clean up the ditch and increase the coast drain size so flow can flowing out. So this open up the whole system, draining out to north and go to the bay. There used to be a pipe here. The pipes go to the corner of a swimming pool, so that one we don't have easement either. And we use this area to put a bigger pipe. That way, in future, if this pipe fail, we just plug it. Because in future, we don't have this pipe, this breaker will be damaging the house, everything, so it's a dangerous things. So we build this new outfall, and we'll be close to the old pipe. That's basically the Lake June to just open up that flow go. Any questions?
The one pipe that we're blocking.
This pipe?
Well, across Windhorst.
Yeah, we're going to close, keep one open until the downstream issue being resolved. We open this two pipe. Right now we can only open one pipe. Yes.
Across.
Right. Yeah. Right now only one pipe, we double it. So more flow can flow north. Yeah, we go north.
There is a sizable ditch which runs northward and past the division that's over here. It goes across to the west underneath High View and then goes into Lake Mango.
Yeah, you mean this side, yeah. No. This ditch has a lead to the Lake Mango.
The ditches are normally maintained in such a fashion that it'll allow all the flows to go through. Right now, the banks are very steep, and we do clean them out periodically. That's same question as before. Can't give you a straight answer. Mowing is, like I said, normally done about 6 months or so. But when the system actually winds up being compromised, then the maintenance unit does go out there and they clean it up. They have to.
Questions? Dick Joe? Ron's good talker, so let him talk. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Ben. Actually, let me say one last thing, is if you need to have or want to have a set of plans, let me know and I can give you a link to where I do have, I can send plans, so, or paperwork or whatever else is. Well, these, whatever I have here, Lake June, Lake Meade, these connection, these here, anything.
And put your questions and comments on the sheet and send them in. If you have a question.
The comment sheets are over here, I believe.
Any more questions? Well, at this time, I'd like to thank all of you for coming and thank all of you for the time you've graciously given us this evening. It's been kind of a long meeting. We've covered a lot of information. Hopefully you were able to take some good notes and have some good comments. Please give them to Tiffany over here, and we'll try to address any questions you may have. Again, thank you for coming, and if you have any questions, please feel free to stay after, ask us, or you have our phone numbers on the sheet. Feel free to give us a call. Thank you very much.